It's a good evening to gather together. It is going to be an interesting conversation, or the words of the lesson is an unusual one, but yet it is in the Bible. It is not something I'm making up. I have not had that much lack of sleep that I'm imagining things, and you'll understand why when we get into this. What would it take to catch your attention when you have your mind set on something? You are dead focused on what you have in front of you. Whatever it is that has your attention is just there. Even though you know you ought to be listening to this over here, you're just set forward. What is going to catch your attention? In that question, how bizarre would that attention getter need to be to shake you up and say, hello, wake up? The interesting part is I'm asking that question knowing that this right here would actually, if this happened to me, I might consider myself to be dreaming in the first place. And so I would need to figure out a way to wake up because it does not seem to happen like this. Whereas most of the religious world today, at least in the Christianity professing world, they are looking at a donkey as this being, they call it Palm Sunday, when Jesus triumphantly enters the city of Jerusalem for the last time riding a donkey with the palm branches. That's not the donkey we're talking about today. There is a donkey in our story today, in our account, and of what we're looking at, but the one that Jesus rode is not it. I'm thinking of the one where when Balaam is riding along, he goes and tells his friends afterwards saying, look, I just talked with my donkey today. And he talked back to me. We had a conversation together. Me and my donkey, we talked to each other. In Numbers chapter 22 is where we will be this evening. And you think it was weird that I said that my donkey talked to me? Well, he saved my life 3 times too. And then he told me about it. Can you imagine hearing that story? Listening to someone tell you about how you just had a conversation. And I'm not talking about like we have with our pets where they kind of bark or meow at us and we meow back at them. This is a verbal conversation that he just had with his donkey, where both of them understood each other. Let's see what that conversation was. Numbers chapter 22, starting at verse 28. It says, Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and she said to Balaam, What have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? Okay, first off, this is where the hallucinations begin, and I start checking myself to see if I'm awake. The donkey that you are riding just talked to you. And Balaam said to the donkey, Because you have abused me, I wish there was a sword in my hand, for now I would kill you. So the donkey said to Balaam, Am I not your donkey on which you have ridden ever since I became yours to this day? Was I ever disposed to do this to you? And he said, No. We're going to get to the backfill of this here in a second. But all of a sudden, my donkey just started talking to me. I was like, what are you beating me up for? You just ran me off the trail. You just abused me. If I had a sword, I would kill you right now because I'm just mad at you right now. Now, the donkey doesn't say how long these two have been together, but it's like, look, I've been yours for a while now. Have I ever done something like this to you? Well, no. Why are you so mad at me? Balaam had his thought set on something. And I think it interesting that God said, I'm going to catch his attention. I'm going to let the donkey see the dangers because he won't. And I'm going to let the donkey tell him about it. Can you imagine that being your wake-up call? Let's see what some of this backfill is. What are these dangers? And I've got it's a continuous from verse 22 through verse 27, but in the outline I broke it up 22 and 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, because it's three different times that this happened along the trail. What I envision this being, and quite possibly, and some others have speculated, but this is speculation, that Balaam is going on a journey, and we're going to see the rest of the fill about this in a second as we go into the rest of the outline. But he is on his way, and I would go along with the assumptions that I've read about, that this might be at least halfway or better on the journey. He's still got his mind set on where he's going instead of what he's already been told. And so he's kind of focused. And so now we see at three different stops, there are three different obstacles in his way. Starting at verse 22, it says, "Then God's anger was aroused because Balaam went. And the angel of the Lord took his stand in the way as an adversary against him. And he was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. Now the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand. And the donkey turned aside out of the way and went into the field. So Balaam struck the donkey to turn her back onto the road." Step number one, all of a sudden the angel of the Lord is standing in the way, but there's a field nearby. So the donkey says, I ain't going through that, and gets off the beaten path and starts going through the field. And Balaam's like, "What are you doing, donkey? Get back on the path," and strikes the donkey. Verse 24, the second occurrence. "Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between the vineyards, with the wall on one side and the wall on that side. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pushed herself against the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, so he struck her again." A little bit narrower spot, didn't have as much freedom. It caused Balaam a little harm, and so Balaam really not getting happy with this and struck the donkey a second time. Verse 26, "Then the angel of the Lord went further," so a little bit further down the road, a little bit further along the pathway, "and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn, either right or left. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she laid down under Balaam. So Balaam's anger was aroused, and he struck the donkey with his staff." The fist ain't getting it done. I'm going to whack you with my stick. Interesting that all of this goes on. And Balaam doesn't even know what's going on. He's just interested in getting to where he needs to get. "Donkey, quit getting off this pathway. Get me to my destination. Let's go." Now, if we go down and look, okay, I do have that later on. Sorry. Why all of this? Why is the donkey trying to get away from this angel? Why does the angel have its sword out, ready to do harm? And why is Balaam deserving such treatment? Well, let's go back a little bit further. If we go back to Numbers 21, we see from verses 21 to 35, where the nation of Israel just defeated two Amorite kings and their kingdoms, their cities. And now they have moved, and in Numbers going into 22, we see that they camped on the other side of the Jordan from Jericho. We know history of Jericho is that as they go into the promised land, they will be receiving all that is there. The city of Jericho is about to fall, but at this point, Moses is still alive. He's not allowed to go in there yet. So they're sitting in an encampment right on the other side of the river. I see you, Jericho. It's right there. I see you and you see me. You see all of our numbers. You see all that we have. And we see in Numbers 22 and verse 3 where they are, and when I say they, the people that are in Jericho, the leadership there, and Moab was exceedingly afraid. of the people because they were many. And Moab was sick with dread because of the children of Israel. News travels fast, doesn't it? They just killed two Amorite kings, took their cities, plundered everything there. There's nothing left of them. They've already heard about it while the Israelites are setting up camp right across the street from you. And you know that you're just as bad as the others over there, but you're sitting inside of a fortress, but yet you're still afraid. If they just took and an army just came and knocked out two kings, and you're the third in line and they're camped across the river from you, there might be reason to be afraid. So Balak, the Moabite king, sent for Balaam because Balaam had a history, apparently, of giving blessings or cursings on people, and he wanted this nation to be cursed. Looking at verses 4 through 6, so Moab sent to the elders of Midian, now this company will lick up everything around us as an ox licks up the grass of the field. He sees the size of the Israelites and he says, this is not going to go good. Even if they can't get into my city, there's only so long I can hold out. Because if they decide to camp around the city, nothing's coming through. Then he sent messenger to Balaam, son of Beor, at Pethor, which is near the river Euphrates, and the land of his sons of his people, to call him, saying, look, a people has come from Egypt. See, they conquer the face of the earth and are settling next to me. Therefore, please come at once. Curse these people for me, for they are too mighty for me. Perhaps I shall be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land, for I know that he whom you bless is blessed, and he who you curse is cursed. Balaam has a history. He is known for giving blessings or cursings, and so Balak, the king, sends to him and says, come, curse these people that I might have a chance. That's our history. That is what's leading us up towards this event. But as we continue to go through this chapter, we see that Balaam was tempted to do something foolish. What exactly he has, we don't have an exact answer here as to what his motivations are. But yet we see that God has told Balaam something specific. In verse number 12, getting up to verse 12, so the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian depart with a diviner's fee, that's in verse 7, in their hand. They are going with the standard going rate for getting him to come and give a blessing or a cursing, and ask them to go and pick him up and bring him back so that he may do this thing. And we get down to verse number 12, and we see where God tells him something specific. The men get there to him. They say, we have this from the king. He would like you to come with and do this thing. And the first thing Balak says is, well, stay with me tonight. I will talk with God, and he will tell me what to do. That Balaam is something that he does every single time. He consults with God first. And so verse 12, and God said to Balaam, you shall not go with them. You shall not curse the people, for they are blessed. So Balaam heeded the instructions. He woke the next morning. He sent the men on their way, saying, I'm sorry, I cannot accept your diviner's fee. I cannot accept this. Please return. I will not be coming with you. And so the men returned. Of course, Balak still looks out his window and still sees the whole nation of Israel over there and says, this ain't going to be good. I'm still not happy. I'm still not comfortable. Instead of elders, this time let me send a bunch of princes that are higher in stature. Let's send better rewards. Let's even give him a blank check to go with. Verses 15 through 17 illustrate this. He sent princes more numerous and more honorable than the elders. Then they came to Balaam and said, thus says Balak, the son of Zippor, please let nothing hinder you from coming to me. For I will certainly honor you greatly and will do whatever you say to me. There's that blank check. Here's the fee that I give with a little extra on it, and whatever you'll give to me, or whatever you ask. At first here we see Balaam has the right answer to it. Verse 18, then Balaam answered and said to the servants of Balak, though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not go beyond the word of the Lord my God to do less or more. That is a sermon in itself. That is a principle to live by for us today as well. Can I do anything more or less than what God has commanded me to do? If only Balaam would listen to his own conversation right there. But in verse 19 he says, therefore, if it please you, stay the night here, that I may know what more the Lord may say to me. And so he consults with God. God comes back and tells him again. In verse 20, and God came to Balaam at night and said to him, if the men come to call you, rise and go with them, but only the word which I speak to you, that you shall do. All right, the men are there. These men have already come, and they say, and God says, if they call you. You've already told them what the plan is. But in verse 21, we see something happen. So Balaam rose in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the princes of Moab. There's no indication that they called him or pressured him again. It just says, and Balaam rose and left. I wonder if there's something to that. Maybe it's just the begging and pleading just isn't recorded, or did he just decide, the king's got a pretty good amount of money sitting here with it. It's bigger than my normal fee. And he's giving me a blank check for when I get there. You think about that overnight and what happens. There may be some of this happening. There may not be. It may be something I'm reading into it. It's not recorded here. But that's just something that as humans I think about. If there is a blank check sitting right there for this great thing, you just want me to come down there, say a few words? I've told you I can't go beyond what God tells me to do, but it doesn't hurt to go, does it? That's when we get into what just happened. Then God's anger was aroused because he went. God has already told him, you will not curse these people. Whether you go or not has no bearing on this at all. You will not be cursing these people. He's already told them that the first go round. So why are you even entertaining this? And then we see this back and forth in the verses that we just read about the donkey protecting him, his life, and having that conversation. We look at verse 32. I'm going to back up just a little bit. It's not on the outline right there, but after Balaam talked with the donkey, and the donkey said, what have I done? Have I ever done this to you? He said, no, in verse 30. Verse 31, then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his drawn sword in his hand. And Balaam bowed his head and fell flat on his face. What was Balaam's motivation? Why was God's anger kindled at him? Verse 32 and 34 give us an insight of this. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? Behold, I have come out to stand against you, because your way is perverse before me. The donkey saw me and turned aside from me these 3 times. If she had not turned aside from me, surely I would also have killed you by now and let her live. And Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know you stood in the way against me. Now, therefore, if it displeases you, I will turn back. Were Balaam's motivations appropriate? And why he chose the second time when God said, if they come to you and call on you, he just woke up the next morning and said, let's go. And as he got closer and closer, that blank check kind of worked in his head a little bit, I think. What we do know for certain is that he says that your way is perverse before me. You are going to King Balaam in an inappropriate way. And Balaam said, I have sinned. He was not going for the right reason. It took a very unusual conversation to catch his attention. Before he could see the angel of the Lord, the donkey was doing its duty. Think in a very abstract way, it's a good thing that we can think about is that which one of these two, the donkey or the human, was doing its duty. The donkey was told to go forward, and it went forward. It was doing as it was commanded. It was doing it in honest and genuine reasons. It even veered off track on those times, and yes, even caused its master a little bit of harm on one of those for the betterment. Which would you rather have, a hurt foot or a lost head? The donkey said, I'll hurt your foot, or otherwise I'm going to have a new owner. Because you're going to be on the side of the street right here. The donkey could see the dangers ahead because it was looking clearly. Balaam needed a wake-up call. And it took a conversation with his donkey to do it. I do not expect to have a conversation with the dog when I go home, other than my usual gibberish with him. This is a very specific case where the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey. The Lord opened the eyes of Balaam. And so we see how that happened right here. He didn't do the right thing for the right reasons. He didn't go with these men for the right reasons. Even if they came and persuaded him more and more, come with me, God said, okay, you can go with him if you keep my word. And someplace along the line, he started thinking about not doing the will of God because the angel said, you don't have the right reason for going. Along the trail to Balak, Balaam's eyes were opened. It was only after this unusual conversation that made him think of actions that he was allowed to open his eyes. What does it take for us to open our eyes today? What does it take for the world outside to be able to open up their eyes and see what they are doing? When I started coming up with this lesson and thinking about the donkey, I did not think of it being in the worldly sense of Palm Sunday and of a donkey being in that story as well. But out of the two, I would still pick this one to talk about. We're not told to celebrate the triumphant entry into Jerusalem of Christ. He was entering the city for the final time before his death in the coming week. But we're not told to remember all of those things in religious holidays, in such a worldly sense. We are told that that is part of the whole counsel of God. We are told about it. We are seeing how it fulfills prophecies. Is it important? Absolutely. Is it necessary for Christ to have completed what he came to do? Absolutely. Is it necessary for me on this day of the year to preach about it? No. That gets into honoring a day or an event over everything else. We are told to come together and had this conversation yesterday, I think it was, that, are you going to be preaching about Palm Sunday, Good Friday, Thursday? What are you going to be preaching about? I said, none of it. We're told every first day of the week to remember Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. We are told to honor that every single week. I don't need to pick a certain day to do it. I should have kept that conversation going and said, no, I'm going to talk about a talking donkey. I missed that opportunity. Animals that talk to us. But what we have is an unusual way that God shows His power and might to overcome mankind's stubbornness and falling. We can go through the rest of the chapter, and I encourage the reading of it, but he goes and does what God told him to do. And he does not do what God told him not to do. He told him, you will not curse my people. And no matter how hard Balaam tried to pressure him, how many sacrifices he offered by the command of Balak, and of all these things to do, Balak did not falter from this point forward. He was reminded the power of God. He was reminded what his duty was with this angel talking to him after the donkey talked to him, and now he was put back on the right path. He chose, maybe out of a little bit of fear, we're to fear God and keep His commandments. Some of it is, does have some of this to it. Most of it should be that respect and reverence that He is this powerful, that He can make my donkey talk to me. That would kind of shake me up a little bit. I think it'd be enough to open my eyes, I would hope. What does it take to open the eyes of the generation around us? God has recorded plenty of attention getters in the Scriptures. When will we see them? When will the world around us see them? And when seen, will we act appropriately? When given the opportunity to have the eyesight that Balaam had, it got kind of cloudy. Today I kind of think of some people like cataracts or something. It's kind of starting to glaze over a little bit. I don't see the pathway very clear. You go have that procedure, it kind of opens your eyes again. You're able to see it again. All of a sudden, he's able to see the pathway more clearly. He sees the dangers ahead of him of being disobedient to God. That was something he didn't see at first. He started off with that idea, but then he forgot along the pathway. He was reminded, be true to God, and He will give us what He has promised us. And as Christians today, He has promised us a lot. Forgiveness of sins, eternity in heaven, His grace and mercy to cover our iniquities. But we've got to have our eyes open, and we've got to watch out for the dangers ahead. It's not always by us going like, I think it was last week, talking about the slip and slide, going off the trail. Sometimes the dangers are on the trail. We start to get cloudy and hit the wrong spot ahead. Will we take comfort in this unusual conversation and understand that our duty is to serve God no matter the situation? When He has said that we must do or not do something, we need to remember to take Him at His word. He has our best intentions in mind. And sometimes if we get a curveball along the path, maybe that's our donkey stepping aside out of a danger spot. Maybe it's a wake-up call. Maybe it's something we need to look at. That would have been interesting to see the faces of his companions around him when all of a sudden he started talking with his donkey. Or all of a sudden fall flat on the face to the angel before them. God doesn't work like that today, in that He doesn't do the miraculous that we see, but yet He still has plenty of opportunity for us to have our eyes opened by all that He has done, and that He continues to do that we're not aware of or that we don't see the miraculous touch of. Are we listening to Him? Are we applying what He has told us in our lives? Are we moving forward on the safe path that He has laid out for us? It's a narrow one. It's a straight one. But it's lit by the word of Christ. Let's follow that word. Let's follow that pathway. Let's look to His word and find out how to do that effectively and how to help one another. And let's reach out to those around us and help them to do the same. At this time, if there's anyone that has need of the invitation, who has not been on the pathway correctly, or is kind of faltered, or is mad at the Word of God, mad at the donkey for sidestepping a little bit, let's figure out why that sidestep happened. Let's come together and let's work with one another and help one another move forward. If you have a need, please let that be known while together we stand.